Media day here today at Notre Dame. We had an opportunity to speak with the players, with the assistant coaches, which is a real rarity for us, and Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly held court, talked about the 60-play scrimmage that they'll be having this afternoon. They have conducted a couple practices, mainly focused on technique and situations, not Clemson oriented yet, which I will probably prompt a lot of people to panic, but there is plenty of time to get into that. Obviously, the coaching staff is well versed in what Clemson can do offensively and defensively, and it's everything moving forward at this point. Final exams behind them, ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's people would think that everything is so Clemson specific for 15 practices, but Notre Dame had some time off. Last week they had 2 practices. He called that spring practice. It was all drill work, skill work. This week could not have been full practices because of finals. I mean, that affected Clemson too. If you just go on Clemson's site, they had a little situation going on with that as well. So today they really start diving into it, and I assume about 5 straight days of what it's going to be like today, because they want to get as much in as they can before next week.
Yeah, no classes, of course, so this becomes a pro camp here for the next couple weeks. Not a lot of personnel conversation. The one player that Brian Kelly did mention, Nick Coleman, he's been very happy with what they've seen from him. Obviously, he's locked in as a nickel, and that's really, really significant in a game like this, because this receiving core, Brian Kelly compared it to the last receiving core that they faced, although I would say that it goes maybe a little bit deeper than USC's. That's who he compared it to.
Well, yeah, saying it wasn't just that it was USC's receiving core, it's that it's one of the best quarterbacks they faced. He brought that up, and the best running back they faced since last year's Georgia game. So he's putting it all together, and that's what it's a dynamic offense. Look, the receiving core goes very deep. Now, I did a story yesterday where I was comparing the receivers. It's really good, 1 through 4. It's eerily similar, almost identical. Yeah. The rest of Clemson's yards don't come from the running backs and tight ends. It comes from receivers 5 through 8. So they go very deep. It's just a different method of doing it, but they can bring a lot of guys in and out that Notre Dame will have to account for.
As he was comparing Clemson to various aspects of it, for example, the defensive line, NC State or LSU, I think we all agree that Clemson's is a little bit better. You notice that he stopped short of making any comparisons on the back 7, and I think that's an area where Notre Dame can exploit. One other personnel note, Jafar Armstrong is a guy that now Brian Kelly said he had an arch problem and he couldn't run with that. He's fully healthy. I think it'll be interesting to see what Chip Kelly does with a 2-back system.
Yeah, I asked Coach Long about Jafar Armstrong. Is this the guy we're going to see from September? And he immediately said yes, and also Cole Kmet, which was interesting. We talked about that on the podcast. So the guy's getting healthy offensively. That's key. Now they have 10 practices to stay healthy. You don't really hear a lot about bowl injuries practices, but it did happen to Sheldon Day before the Ohio State game. So you hope nothing hits one of these teams or where it's a crucial thing that really impacts the game, but it seems like as of now you're rolling into it very healthy.
Did I really say Chip Kelly?
Yeah,
I did, didn't I? Yeah, he's a name as well. Notre Dame, I also thought it was interesting, last thing here, they'll have an opportunity to practice in AT&T Stadium 4 times while they're there, which is significant. You got to get used to the atmosphere. We've been there. It's a completely different atmosphere. They're playing inside of a spaceship, for crying out loud. It's and even the scoreboard itself is just so massive. It's something you have to get used to, but they'll have an opportunity to get acclimated to that.
I was glad that Brian Kelly acknowledged that while preparation is the same and this is a game, when they're there, game day, it's a little different. I mean, no matter what, it is much, much different when you are on the field pregame before a playoff game, national championship game. It's still the most electric atmosphere I've ever seen in my life, and I wasn't playing, obviously. He acknowledged it. He says we have to prepare them for that, but the key is when it kicks off that their preparation has been the same leading up to it the entire time.
I actually asked Brian Kelly about that. The one bridge that you can't gap is the playoff experience that Clemson has, and Notre Dame has none of that. All you can do, as he put it, is stay in the moment, which is what they've done all year, and it's worked pretty well up to this point at 12-0. That's it today from Notre Dame Stadium. We have a ton of stuff to write about. Jack got a bunch of video as well with the players, assistant coaches. We've got plenty to write about for the next couple of weeks as Notre Dame begins full preparation for Clemson in the Cotton Bowl.